The centurion says, "You don't even have to come to the house. Just say the word from here, and I believe that my son can be healed." Jesus commends this centurion for his amazing demonstration of faith. Last week, we listened in to a conversation between Jesus and a woman whose daughter was demon-possessed, and Jesus wanted to demonstrate how faith needs to respond in life when life hits it pretty hard. When Jesus verbally hits this woman with her cultural sensitivities, and she yet remains centered and so spiritually focused. And as a result, she's blessed for not letting the hard hit make her walk away from the blessing she seeks. And Jesus doesn't commend her, but he is impressed with her. And as a result, he heals her daughter. This text that is before us this weekend lets us hear the conversation between Jesus and a royal official whose faith is not commended. It is not exercised in a way that impresses Jesus, but he brings a faith to Jesus that Jesus, in fact, challenges. He challenges this royal official's faith to make it more substantive, to make it more robust. He has faith, but it needs this challenge in order to grow. This royal official serves Herod Antipas, who ruled Galilee and Perea. He bears the title Tetrarch. And like others in his family, he was not the most morally grounded nor the most virtuous of leaders. Whatever his role to Antipas, the royal official has been nurturing a quiet belief in Jesus. This official, in fact, was likely a Jew, not a Gentile. He lived in Capernaum. He most certainly had come to the town of Cana, the place where at a wedding Jesus had turned water into wine. And with all that he has heard about Jesus and maybe what he himself has been privileged to witness, it was clear that he did not buy into the belief that Herod Antipas should be considered his king. He nurtures an inner belief that there is another king. And when he hears that this king is in town, he makes his journey to him because his son has become seriously ill. He knows of Jesus' healing power. The people in Capernaum could testify to that. Having seen and heard of several miracles Jesus had performed there, healing the sick, casting out demons, restoring sight to the blind, causing the paralytic to get up and walk, raising the dead, no doubt this official heard that Jesus had left Judea and come to Galilee. So he makes the decision and travels 7 hours, covering only about 3 miles per hour, to beg Jesus to come back to the house and heal his son, who apparently is at death's door. And when he gets to Jesus, he essentially does the exact same thing the Syrophoenician woman does when asking Jesus to heal her daughter, to which Jesus favorably responds. But this time, Jesus uses his request to make an indicting statement, which is really not to the man specifically, but to those standing around. The only way you all believe is because you see signs and wonders. You watch me perform and you become softened by your amazement of my display and extension of power. I knew it was necessary to get your attention. But you cannot live in this world on spiritual performance alone. It's not enough to answer the hard questions in life. It can't be trusted to keep you standing in the fierce winds of life's adversities. You can make a whole lot of noise with excitement about spiritual performance, but you can't release a lot of conviction about who God is and what God means to you. You'll be an impressive shadow boxer in the ring of life, displaying impressive superlative skill because there is no opponent in front of you, no adversary standing opposite you. But if a strong opponent or adversary like Satan stands opposite you, you're going to need a whole lot more than amazement. A lot more than appreciation for spiritual performance. We, as you might imagine, this cannot answer the royal official who is looking at Jesus. Why? Because this is not what he came looking for. He has to think to himself, Jesus, this is really not about them, and I'm not on official duty. This is personal. I've been impressed with what I hear you can do, and I've been nurturing my belief in you in private while serving the interests of the tetrarch, and I'm here making my own request. I heard your statement. I know you were talking to all of us, but can you come to the house and heal my child? And Jesus doesn't commend his faith. In fact, he's not even impressed with his faith. He senses its presence. He knows that his faith is real. He wants to grow it and support it, mature it, and advance it. So when there's not much to commend regarding his faith and not much to be impressed about regarding his faith, Jesus in this conversation challenges his faith. I'm going to use you to issue the challenge. Let me push and poke and pull and pierce that thin outer lining of a genuine but infantile faith, and let's see if we can move it from hanging ever so fragile on the thin thread of signs and wonders, and let's move and shift it to the sure grounding of certain belief and certain spiritual conviction in me. Go home. Your son lives. Now here's the challenge. When that centurion came to Jesus about his son, Jesus was willing to go to the house because the man's belief was not based on his presence and his performance. He believed in Jesus's power. But in this text, the official wants him to come to the house because he needs the confirmation of his physical presence. He needs Jesus to do his performance thing in the house. Make it happen in the house like you made it happen in other places, wedding reception, cemetery, in the street. Bring that performance down to the house. And Jesus is challenging him. I can take my performance anywhere, but can you bring your faith everywhere? Can you stand your faith anywhere? Can it hold up under any conditions? Is it strong enough to not need signs and wonders and performance? So let's challenge it. Let's stretch it. Let's push at it. Let's poke it. Let's investigate it. Let's see if we can push it on down the road. I'll heal your son, but I ain't coming to the house. You go home. Stop trusting performance and display and signs and wonders, and trust your faith in me, your belief in me, your trust in me. Is it all right if I tell you simply, your son lives? And can you go home on that? This is where many of us are. We're living with the faith. It's real. We know it. The Lord knows it. But you know that your faith has so much more to it. And in order to tap it, the Lord challenges it. Would you accept this weekend that some of what appears to be the strange answers the Lord has been giving you are not because you were not specific about what you need and when you need it and how you would prefer for it to be delivered, but can you accept that perhaps the Lord is challenging you because the Lord knows your faith has more to it, and in order to get at it, it has to be challenged? It's as if the Lord says to us, I'll answer, but it ain't going to look like what you asked for. I'll send help, but it's going to come in the strangest of ways. I will meet your need, but in such surprising ways to prove to you that you weren't thinking deep enough. You weren't thinking high enough. You weren't thinking wide enough. Your faith at this stage wouldn't grow by the splendor of performance. You won't grow and mature simply if I just give you signs and wonders. But in order to get you to grow, I'm going to have to challenge your faith and push you down the road. Is that not a hard but necessary reality for us to have to grapple with, that at this stage of our spiritual growth, our reflections, our musings, the exercise of our gifts, their need to be expanded, our vision, its length and its reach are not best served only by amazing demonstrations, signs, and wonders. Isn't it to us maybe even a shock, but is it not to us a revelation that in order for us to grow, God says, I'm not in it now just to have you experience mouth-dropping, eye-opening, applauding kind of demonstration. I'm pushing you so that we can get your faith to a place where if nothing around you amazing is happening, you can go home simply on this: your son lives. Your faith has been enjoying that steady diet of eye-popping, jaw-dropping, heart-racing, make you run performances by the Lord. But to grow and to make the next part of your lived experience meaningful, your faith needs to be challenged. Walking with my promises, but without any signs. Knowing I heard you, but accepting that I didn't position myself exactly where you wanted me to. It's those conversations you will have with people where you won't really know whether they got it or not. You can't quite confirm if the Lord did what you asked him to do. It's being totally convinced that God is all in the decision you have made. He had to have laid out this path. He had to have made this introduction and worked this arrangement and settled this ambiguity. And then all of a sudden, it all falls apart. No explanation. I can't figure out what God was thinking and why he allowed these things to have all of this progression and then for it to fall apart. You told me to go to that door and then it remained locked. It's the complicated residue of things you ask God to structure and to order in your life. It's the condition you find the solutions in when you arrive to them. Yes, you asked the Lord to arrange it, and then when you approached it, it was still in utter chaos and shattered and broken. You thought when you asked God to ready you that God would then ready the place, and what has you upset is that while God got you ready, he left the place a mess. And your ambiguity is, God, what are you saying about the condition of my faith? The Lord loves us too much to let us get stuck with a faith only fueled by performance, where we then think all we have to offer is a response to God doing the amazing and the demonstrative. Make enough noise, get enough people on your side to make the same noise. No, your faith needs more than that. It needs the blessings that only Jesus's challenges can offer. So anchor in with me. What are these challenges Jesus forces upon us? It's knowing I'm convicted that I won't be abandoned by him. But what I don't know is whether he understands how fragile I am. It's hearing his yes to my want to head in a certain direction in life, and then wondering why he won't clear the path of the impediments that block the path I asked him to walk me down.